Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our Danesfield School Remote Teaching Basics webinar. I'm Ben McGuinness, and I'm a Year 3 teacher at Danesfield, and I'm also joined today by Anthony Foy, who is actually my teaching partner in Year 3, and he'll be helping us with today's webinar. If you joined us last week for our first webinar, then welcome back, and I hope you took some things away that were helpful for you last time, and hope that this will be just as much help this week. There is a Q&A section on the live event, so if you do have any questions as we're going through, then please write them in the Q&A section, and then we will answer those questions at the end for you. So today we're going to talk through the basics of Microsoft Teams, how to set up a team, and then looking at some of just the basic functions of the things that you can see when you first start your first team. So before we get started, you need to think about who's your team for. Is it for your class? Are you creating a team for your staff? Are you creating a team for external people as guests for training? So that's your first point of call is, what is your team going to be used for? You need to think about, do you have all your Office 365 accounts set up? So do you have email accounts set up for all your children, for all your staff that you want to add to your team? And if you don't, there's a link we can share with you for our external network company, EAC Network Solutions, and they'll be able to help you with that setup. The next thing is, what do you want to achieve using Teams? So are you going to be using Teams for teaching? Is it for your staff to collaborate? Is it to share your planning? Is it all of those things? And by thinking about those things, then you'll be able to utilize the features that we're talking about today to suit your needs. So first of all, setting up your first team. So when you join Teams, either through office.com or through the desktop application, there's an icon on the top right that says join or create team. So you need to click on that, and it will take you to another page where you need to click create team, and this will give you your choices of the type of team you want to create. So like we were saying, you need to decide who is your team for. So you've got a class team where you'll be adding your students and teaching staff, where you'll be able to set assignments for them. You might want to do a staff team, which you're going to use for planning. So at Danesfield, we have a whole school team of just staff, which is used for announcements, and we use a team for just training. And every year group has their own year group team where the teachers can collaborate on documents and share their planning together. Another type of team is the professional learning community, or a PLC team, where you can set that up if you want to work with other schools and collaborate with them, and you'll be able to invite them into your team as guests if they're not within your organisation. With the class team and the staff teams, only people within your organisation will be able to be invited into those teams. So for this example, we're going to create a class team. So I would just click on class. So next, you're going to create your team by giving it a name. So I'm going to do this for my Year 3 class, so class 3M, and you can put a description in there if you want to, or you can just stick to the class name. Now you can, once you've created a team or a number of teams, you can click on the create a team using an existing team as a template. So this allows you to copy the channels and the tabs, which we'll talk about later, into a new team, so you don't have to go through the whole setup process again if you want to replicate a team. So we'll click next, and we would next need to add our students to our class team. So you can see in this example that because our Office 365 accounts are set up, as we start typing a child's name, the rest of their name will then come up to show their account name within Teams. So you can just click on their name instead of having to type out the full name every time, which could be quite a long-winded process if you've got 30+ children in your class. Next, we need to do the same thing for any teachers you want to add to the team. So once you've clicked add for your students, you'll click on teachers, and you'll add the teaching staff that you want to be included in your team. Same thing, start typing their name, and then the list will come up so that you can just click on their account detail and they'll be added to the list. Then click add. Now, put here, don't worry if you miss out any students or teachers, because once the team is created, you can always add more students. So if you get new students joining your class or new members of staff, you can add them to the team at a later date. So that's all there is to it. So once you've done that, you would click close, and then you'll see your team created. So here's our class 3M team. So now we need to try and work out what everything on that screen means, what all these buttons are going to do. So we're going to look at the app bar, which you can see circled there, the channels, and then look at the tabs, and we're going to find out what all those things do. So I'm going to hand you over to Anthony, and he's going to tell you about the app bar.
Thank you, Ben, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. So once you've set up your first team, you'll need to find your way around the application. It's really intuitive and it's easy to navigate, so the children can easily be directed to where they need to go. So the first thing you'll see on your app bar on the left-hand side, the first thing you'll see is the app bar. So this is for the main features of Teams, and it will stay on the left-hand side regardless of what team you've entered. So the first thing on there at the top is the activity icon. This will take you to a feed of activity that's been happening throughout all of the teams that you're in. It's basically just like notifications. It'll let you know if someone's responded to your messages. It gives you an alert when assignments have been set. It will also notify the children when their teacher returns the work to them. It tells you about missed calls, and it can alert you to when someone's mentioned you in a post to get your attention. Because when posting in a team, you can tag the whole team using the @ symbol or a person, and type in the name of that team or that person, and then it will notify everyone that's mentioned in this activity icon here. That will ping for them. The next one down we've got is the chat icon. So this is where all of your private or personal messages are kept. You can also be in personal chats with multiple people. It will ping when you have a new message. So in here you can also see your contacts, and you can filter your chat to look for older messages from people in your organization or anybody that you've already been chatting to. Ben will tell us a bit more about this feature later on today. So the next one down is the Teams icon. So clicking here will show you all of the teams that you're a member of or that you're an owner of. To enter a specific team, you just click on the icon for that team. At Danesfield, we've got a Year 3 team for each class. We also have a separate one for the teachers and teaching assistants to use. Since we've been working remotely, we've made a whole year group team as well, because both classes are doing the same work, and we're really working as a team of 2 teachers with 60 kids rather than 1 teacher with 30, and this can cut down the workload for us. Next one on there, we've got assignments. So this is a great tab for the students because their work will be found in this section. They don't have to be in a specific team to reach their assignments, although they can reach assignments from specific teams too using tabs, which we'll talk about later. Teachers can also find the returned work in this icon and select which team they want to view the assignments for. So we'll go into a lot more further detail about this at a future webinar, because we use this assignments tab all the time, and there's lots of things you can do with it. So we'll talk about that further at a future webinar. But it's great for looking at their work and returning it to the kids. That's what it's used for. So the next one down, we've got the calendar. So this is where you can set up all your calls or meetings. We have our class meetings scheduled as a school. Throughout the day, this sends reminders to those children, telling them to be online at the right time for their meeting. This meeting will show up on the general post page of that team that you've set it up for, and all the members of that team can then access that meeting. Again, we'll go into much more detail about this at a future webinar, because it's a huge topic as well, the calendar. The calendar works in tandem with your Microsoft calendar and your 365 account. So dates, appointments, and meetings in your usual email calendar will automatically appear in your Teams calendar. Calls is the next icon on the app bar. So clicking this icon will take you to a screen showing your contacts, your call history, even voicemail messages you get on there. There is an option to make a call, and all you need to do is type in the name of someone in your organization, and you can choose then audio call or video call. It has suggested contacts and speed dial in there to save having to type the name of frequently contacted colleagues or children. And again, the name will come up after only typing a few letters in there, so that will save you time as well. Finally, at the bottom there, we have the Files tab on the app bar. Here, all the files you've sent or received are easily accessible. They show the recent files from within Teams and anything you've downloaded from Teams. Cloud storage, OneDrive, is also here to find things that you've stored on the cloud. And it also has the option to add your own cloud storage provider in here. So any questions on the app bar, just pop them into the chat here, and I'll pass you back to Ben to tell you all about using the channels.
Thanks, Anthony. So channels in your team allow you to organize topics or groups if you want to within your team, if you want to put specific children into a group, or if you want to organize your resources by topic, then you can do that too. The teams can be the channels, sorry, can be accessed by everyone in the team unless you set them to private. And by setting them to private, you make them accessible only to a specific group of children. So you can set work specific to children. Instead of setting up a separate team for them, you can just set up a channel that is limited to those children being able to access it. And we'll have a little look at that later at how to set those up. Each channel has its own tab section. So at the top of the image there, you can see it says posts and files. So each channel will have its own independent tab section, so you can save files into folders specific to that subject area or specific to that group within the channel. The channels are ordered alphabetically, so you need to think about how you're going to name them. So that's why in the example here I've put number 1 and number 2 for red group and blue group, just to show that they'll go to the top of my list. Otherwise, they will go into alphabetical order, apart from the general channel, which is the default channel which you get with every team. As staff at Daintsfield, in our staff teams, we use our channels set up for half-termly channels. So we have an autumn 1 and autumn 2, a spring 1, a spring 2, and a summer 1 and a summer 2 channel. And then we are able to store all of our planning and our timetables and our resources for those half-term channels. And then we have folders in there for a week by week, so we can store the planning and resources for those lessons. With our remote teaching at the moment, year 3, we're only using the general channel, just because younger children, we want them to be able to just use one space to find all their resources and their work. Whereas I know further up the school, the children are accessing through different topic areas. So there's lots of different ways you can do it, and it's not one size fits all. There's lots of different ways that will work. If you've got any questions about the channels, then please put them into the Q&A section and we can answer those for you afterwards. I'm going to hand you back to Anthony, who's going to talk to you about tabs.
Thank you, Ben. Yeah, so before you've added any channels, there will automatically be one known as general already set up on your team. So you'll then have at the top of that interface, you'll have tabs. So you'll see them there. These tabs will change depending on what team you've set up. For example, if it's a class team, it will have a class notebook, assignments and grades. Whereas if it was for your teacher's team, it wouldn't have those assignments and grades. but all teams will have a section for posts, so that those team members can message or drop files or videos into the main page for every team, for every member of the team. So we've been using this mainly. We post our answers in to the set work that we've done, or we put our announcements in the posts or reminders. It's a bit like a pin board where everyone can see what's messages from each other. You can tag the whole team or even groups of children in these announcements to make sure they come up as notifications on the children's computer. Some of our children post their work in here too for the whole year group to see, and some just pop in to say hello or wish happy birthday to each other. Some just to tell us what they're up to and share their pictures. So it's just a message board that everybody can see. The next tab up there is Files, and this contains folders, documents, PowerPoints, whatever you'd like to put in that tab for that channel. So just now we keep resources for each subject in there. We also keep a weekly timetable for them and some instructions for using Teams. There's some general parent information and instructions that we've put in our Files section on our shared team. Class teams then have a class notebook tab. This is an interactive tool where the whole team can collaborate on the same page, or children can also have their own private notebook that only the child and their teacher can access, where they can complete their work and the teacher can see it. The next one is for assignments and works the same as the sidebar option that we spoke about earlier, but this one is specific to that team and that channel. Again, I could talk about all day about these assignments, so we will be having a future webinar on them, so stay tuned. You can see there, you can set work for the team, schedule them, share the instructions, upload resources, give feedback through this tab, and easily see who's completed the work. So yeah, we'll go into that on another day for you. The final one that's set up there by default for a class channel is grades, where you can view individual pupils' scores for those assignments that you've set up and see who's handed in the assignments. You can also see who's viewed them and who hasn't. So you can search for specific children if you want to, check who's doing the work, and who's returning it, what scores they're getting. The best thing about the tabs bar is that you can add your own tabs depending on what applications you want to use. So for our teacher only team, we've got a Twitter feed on that tab, so we can upload and tweet from within our teams. And we have our maps provider on there too, so we can easily access resources on their website from within Teams, so we don't even need to leave the Teams application to get there. For our remote learning team with the children, we have Flipgrid on there, which again we're going to in further detail at a future webinar. But it's a video app where our children are presenting their work. Sometimes they're hot seating with each other, showing their science results. We've had them doing weather reports, some drama, a daily diary, and sometimes reading out their work as well. On ours, we have the spelling website on there, so the children don't have to leave the Teams platform to access it. And we've got forms for when we've got quizzes for the kids to do. So like Ben said, it's really great for younger children because they don't have to leave the Teams app and type in the website addresses. They can just get on, they can just go straight on there. We also have a tab in there where we use Stream, and in there we will add our meeting chats so that children can watch them in their own time if they've not managed to make the morning meeting call. So they don't have to be in the team meeting to see what we're doing. It's also useful for children if they're struggling with their work or they're not sure of the instructions. They can go back and watch the explanations again from the live lesson that we had that morning. So like we were saying, we've stuck to just one channel for our class. In year 3, we feel it's easier for the young children to navigate Teams this way, but if our children were a little bit older, we'd probably be using more channels, having an English and a maths one, different subjects and groups. All of the staff teams use multiple channels that have different tabs chosen for those channels. So inside your channel, you can put different tabs for each channel, so you can personalize these tabs. Any questions on these tabs, then please write them in the Q&A section and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation. But for now, I'll hand you back to Ben. He's going to tell you about the chat function within Teams.
Thanks, Anthony. So the chat function is a difficult one to really show examples of, just because of the nature of the content of chat. So you can see lots of pixelated things on the screen there. But down the left-hand side, you'll have all of your different individual chats, whether they're one-to-one chats or group chats, and then you can choose between them. And when you click on one, then you'll be able to chat with that person or with that group. So the example here is a chat with myself and Anthony. And you can see that on the chat with myself and Anthony, we've got some tabs at the top. So next to Anthony's name, it says chat, files, organization, and activity. So this means that we can have our own folders and share files within the chat. So you can send files to each other just through the conversation, upload files from your computer, from your OneDrive, and then those files that are shared within your chat will then be stored in the Files tab. So it's a really, really handy tool if you just want to send files between a couple of people or a small group. You can also set up a stream, what Anthony was talking about, with video clips. So we use it for recording our daily calls with the children. So you could set up a stream tab on there as well to share videos. And I know that children in year 6, they have a group chat for a small maths group, and they have a stream tab on there where the teacher uploads some videos just for those children, just to support them with their work. You can do, just like in the generals channel on the posts, you can use emojis and you can use GIFs. So there's good fun for the children and for the teachers. And then there's also an option to send praise. So you can send a praise card to a child. It has a nice image, and you can put a little message on there, and then they'll receive like a message of praise, like for their good work, which is a really nice touch. Sometimes they enjoy that. We also use the chat function for the children to be able to contact us throughout the day. So if they're unsure of how to complete some work, or just need a little bit of extra help, they can contact us as teachers, and then we will invite them into a small intervention group in the afternoons and have a video call with them to help them with their work. So I've said on here as well that you can set message policies. So if you're the admin within your school for Teams, which we don't have within school, we have an external company, like I said, EAC Network Solutions. They do all our admin for us, so they're able to set policies for chat. So they could disable chat for students or for staff or organisation wide, depending on what you want to do within your school or organisation. You can set up policies for that. Even just individuals, if people are not using chat sensibly, then you can stop that individual from being able to chat on Teams. But at Danesfield at the moment, we're finding it a really, really important tool for the children whilst they're not in school, so they can communicate with each other. We've been putting children into small friendship groups so that they can chat together throughout the day, and then they're able to create video calls within that group. And then if it's been created by the teacher, then the teacher can then manage that group and check on the chat and just make sure everything is up to scratch. So moving on, managing your team. So our team set up, we've looked at all of the app bar, the tabs. Now let's look at how we can manage everything else, adding new members, adding channels, tags, setting children as owners or members, and also guests, and how to mute students from posting on the post tab. So first thing we're going to do is, you can see there's a circled 3 dots, like a little ellipsis, which is it's on Teams in a lot of places, and it basically gives you more options for that area of Teams. So next to our class 3M, which is the title of the name of our team, we've got that. So that's going to give us more options for the team. And we're going to start off by having a look at how to add new members. So we click on the ellipsis and we just go to add member, and we're going to add a student, and it works just the same as when you're setting up your team. You can start writing the child's name and then click on them and just add them to the account, and it will be the same if you were adding another teacher, and then you can close that and then that person will be added to the team. Simple as that. Now we go back to the ellipsis and the same menu, and we're going to add a channel this time. So we're going to create a new channel for a morning maths group. So I'm going to give my channel a name, and this time I'm going to make it a private group. So I'm going to change the privacy to private. And then this will allow me then to choose the children I want to be able to access that channel. So the same thing, I will start typing the names, and as they come up, I can click on the name and then just click add to add them to that channel. So once the channel's been created, there will also be an ellipsis next to the channel. You can see a padlock on there just to show that it is a private channel, so it's only accessible by particular children. And if we click on the ellipsis, the 3 dots, then it gives us the option to add more members to the channel if we want to, add extra children into that group. So the same thing, so always more options. So now we're going to have a look at tags. So Anthony talked about tags briefly earlier. So tags means that you will be able to at someone within a group on the post, and they will get a notification. So we're going to create a tag for our morning maths group, and I'm going to add the children from that group to the tag. I'm giving my tag its name, and then I'm going to create it. Then immediately I'll be able to go onto the general channel of my team. And in the post section, I'll be able to start a conversation or make an announcement, and I can at morning math, the tag I've just created, and then you can see that morning math is now highlighted. So that means that the children that are in that morning math tag will get a notification about this announcement. It will be visible because it's in posts on the general channel. It'll be visible to all the people in the team, but only those children will get a notification to say that that message has gone on there. And I'm going to add a little emoji as well, just to show you. Okay, so next let's have a look at managing the team and the team members. So again, we're going to go to the ellipsis and manage team. And you'll see straight away that we've got the owners of the team at the top. So they have the most permissions, and you can see if they've got any tags to their names. And then underneath that, you've got your list of members and guests. So your children, your class children will be your members. And you can change the role. So if you've got someone who is a member but should be an owner, like a member of staff, then you can just change that in this section. You can see that you can also add members from this point as well. So the same way as we did earlier from the ellipsis. Now, if you're muting students, this will mute them from being able to post messages on the post tab in the general channel. So you can mute individual students or all students. If you find that your messages aren't getting through to the students because they're putting loads of GIFs and images and things on there, then you can mute them all, and then they won't be able to post in that section. So it's a handy tool if you need to calm things down a little bit. Here we can just view the different channels that we've got. And then if we go to our main settings, this is where we can set different permissions for our members and our guests. So this is where you decide whether the members in your team are able to create channels, if they can add apps, if they can change the tabs. At the moment, we've got ours set on here so that members can delete their own messages if they put something in the post and they want to remove it, and they can edit their messages. But as far as I know, they can delete and edit them, but you as a member of staff can't delete other people's messages. And finally, on the fun stuff section for emojis and memes and GIFs and stickers, there's an important part on here looking at inappropriate content. So we've got a set filter on there as strict, just to make sure that nothing inappropriate can go onto our team posts. Keeps things nice and clean and tidy. Okay, so the final thing we're going to look at is once you've been using Teams on your laptop, on your computer, you might want to download the Teams app on your phone. But just a word of warning, there's a notification section on your Teams app, and something that teachers at Danesfield have all learnt a lesson about is setting quiet hours on your app on your phone. So you can set your quiet hours for between whatever times you like. So most teachers here 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening throughout the night. Otherwise, children that are accessing Teams in the evening, you'll be getting notifications of work being submitted or chat going on. So set your quiet hours, make sure you manage your notifications. Also, if you become a member of lots and lots of different teams, then you're going to have lots of notifications going on. So just a really important thing to think about once your teams are set up. That's all we're going to go into today. We're going to have a look and see if there are any questions. Just to say that we have got Facebook pages for you to have a look at. So we've got our main school, Danesfield School page, and then we've also got a Magical Creative Teaching page where we share teaching ideas, and we also put the links on there for our future webinars. We've got an Instagram page with teaching ideas and sharing displays and just cool creative ideas that teachers have had. Have a look at our YouTube channel where we've got lots of videos explaining how we teach particular units, talk writing units, and then there's also now videos on there giving you instructions of how to do particular things on Teams as well. So you might be helpful for you. And then also our Twitter feed. So we've got a whole school Twitter feed, and every single year group in our school has its own Twitter feed. And so we share all the work, great work that children are doing, update parents on the work that's coming in, and it's a nice time at the moment because we're still sharing with our remote teaching, and you can see some of the creative things that are happening online with our children. And then also visit danesfieldschool.co.uk, and that will have a list of our future events. Our next event is going to be Thursday, the 21st of May, which we'll be talking about setting up meetings and assignments, like Anthony had said. So we're going into much more detail about class calls, how we're delivering them, how we deliver the teaching to the children, and then how we're setting up the assignments, how the children are producing work, and then how we're feeding back on that work. So I hope that's been helpful. I'm just going to go and have a look and see if there are any questions. And I don't think there are any questions at the moment. So thank you for everyone who has attended. This webinar will be available to download on our website to view again, and we hope to see you at the next one on Thursday. Thank you very much.
Thank you.